I've been getting this quite a bit in March. What the hell's happened in the NFL? It's just easily, in my 19 years of doing this with NFL Network, 20 years coming up this fall. Craziest month I've ever seen in the NFL. March, insane. Perfect example, what just happened yesterday. Today, March 31st, Bruce Arians is announced as a retired coach. Just wrapping up the wildest month. So I figured to do my best here for you, to place in perspective. That's what I do professionally, is I place things in perspective professionally.
Yes, you do.
Here are the top 5 NFL headlines, most impactful NFL headlines from the month of March, otherwise known as the hell going on. Okay.
Shout out
as Stephon Diggs
Yeah.
tweeted out the day Tyreek Hill was put in play. Okay, so this segment, hit it please. The segment is now known as either top 5 most impactful storylines of March 2022 or the hell going on. Number 5 on this list, 5th most impactful headline, is the lowering of the curtain on the Legion of Boom. The fact that Russell Wilson gets traded from the Seattle Seahawks after last couple of years of rumors, and last year being the most wide open dalliance of trying to satisfy his wanderlust to leave Seattle. It's finally happening. It finally happens. The Tuesday before the new league year opens up, he is traded from Seattle to Denver. And then later on in the day, Seahawks fans read about Bobby Wagner going to be released as well. And Wagner finding out, as he said on his Twitter account, through means other than the Seahawks informing him it's happening. I played there for 10 years, and I didn't even hear it from them that I wasn't coming back. March 11th, this happened. It was maybe one of the best stories of the teams in the NFL was the resurgence of the Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll leaving USC to go there and build a team that had Russell Wilson join it, with him being drafted, even though what Mike Flynn had been just Matt Flynn had just been acquired via free agency, and it builds, the Legion of Boom builds, and boom, after it begins to trickle out, it ends all on the same day. And the fact that this is number 5 on the list shows you just how insane March 2022 was. Number 4 on the list is Deshaun Watson and the Browns choosing each other. That's number 4 on the list. The fact that Deshaun Watson, his entire year-long saga of criminal exposure and civil suits being slapped on him, and I know the word exposure is probably a very poor choice of words, but so were pretty much everything said in his press conference to introduce him as the newest quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, and that being that day the first time we've heard from Deshaun Watson in over a year on everything that had to do with him, to announce him as a newest member of the team with $230 million coming his way in a new contract, all of it guaranteed. The fact that he's not only criminally clear of everything that happened, but all the teams fall over themselves to go get him, 4 of them, and he chooses the Browns over 2 dome teams in the NFC South. And at the time, everyone's like thinking, he's of course going to choose the NFC South, right? Because, Brady's going to leave eventually. And he chooses neither, including his hometown. He chooses the open-air frigidness of the AFC North in Cleveland, because they say, how about $230 million guaranteed dollars, which is without a doubt going to reverberate more than anything that happened in the month of March deep into forevermore in the NFL. The fact that it is the richest contract, fully guaranteed in the history of the NFL, awarded to somebody who had 22 civil cases open and hanging over his head at the time. Them choosing each other is story most impactful headline of March, number 4. Number 3, the day we all wake up and we read Tyreek Hill wants out of Kansas City, and the Chiefs have told him, go ahead, search for a trade partner. And within an hour, the trade partners are identified as the Jets and the Dolphins, and then an hour later, he's a Dolphin. Easily one of the most dynamic receivers in the game we've seen ever. And I know I'm saying a lot, but the guy takes the top of the defense off for one of the most potent offenses we've seen. And he says, I'm leaving Patrick Mahomes. I'm leaving Andy Reid. I'm leaving Kansas City. I'm going to Miami, and I'm throwing in with the Dolphins. Truly, we were all stunned by it, and that was what did, in fact, lead to Stephon Diggs to give us the title of this segment, The Hell Going On. Nobody saw that coming. It wasn't even part and parcel of the conversation. Nobody was even talking about Tyreek Hill's contract. Nobody was ever thinking that the Chiefs, with a season in which they struggled mightily in the first half, did not in the second half, but then the offensive issues that they did have throughout much of the season came home to roost in an AFC championship game that they lost despite going up by 18 points. Interestingly enough, Tyreek Hill not getting in the end zone at the end of the first half is exactly what the problem was in that game, or personification of it, that he would go. And now the Chiefs are going to have to figure out how to improve that offense without him. And now they got the Dolphins with speed all around with their new head coach, Mike McDaniel, who did start this entire month off with a bang by completing the trifecta at the combine cliche trifecta. That's number 3 on the list. Number 2 on the list is Rodgers stays, Adams goes. Who the hell saw that one coming? Now, we all thought Rodgers was going to stay. I did, at least.
You did.
All signs were pointing to it, and certainly when he won his back-to-back MVP award and he accepted it right in front of me at the NFL Honors and was talking about Gutekunst and Goody and all those guys are all tight now, right? If you will. But he's staying, and then Adams goes, and he says he's staying. And, you know, the way that he said he was staying, there was a lot of back and forth between him and Twitter about whether it was true or how he was staying and how much of a commitment there was. But then he goes, he stays, and then Adams gets traded. Adams gets traded to the Raiders. Adams gets traded to the Raiders and gets $141 million to go to the Raiders and get hooked up with Derek Carr. And there was a bunch of rumors at the Combine that maybe the Raiders were tapping out on Carr. No, quite the opposite. They were getting the best receiver in the game for Carr. And that's even with what I said about Tyreek Hill. And now, you know, the Packers, Matt LaFleur at the owners meeting to wrap up March is like, we need a receiver to take the top of the defense off. Yes, you do. Because that guy's now on the Raiders for Rodgers, sticking around in Green Bay. And then the top headline of the craziest month of March in the history of the NFL is the fact that Tom Brady unretired. That's the one. That's the one. Right in the middle of the month, March 14th, he makes the announcement he's back. And he's coming back to Tampa because there's a conversation. Is he really going to go to San Francisco? And then even the month finishes up with, after the Dolphins get Tyreek Hill, he's going to force his way to Miami. Craziness. It's just absolute craziness. But the fact that Brady is back, it also had the domino effect of all the players that the Bucs might have lost in free agency didn't go anywhere except for Alex Kappa going to Cincinnati. So the ripple effect of where those players might have wound up in the NFL free agency frenzy, but rather, instead of going there, stayed put and made the Buccaneers, who are going into a very iffy offseason into the land of the unknown, they're now back as a Super Bowl contender and one of my top contenders, if not the top contender for the trophy. Because who's betting against Tom Brady? Brady returning is the number one headline. Now, I'm sure many of you may be out there saying, well, you left a whole bunch out. And just to show you that we understand that and just how crazy this month of March is, put it up. We put up all the other headlines. I don't know how many there are right here, but I think there's 24 of them. So I'll just read them out. Carson Wentz traded to the Commanders, which led to Matt Ryan being traded to the Colts. Where's Baker Mayfield going to go? Because we already thought that he could actually go to Indianapolis. And when Deshaun Watson wound up there, now he's in sort of like a phantom zone right now. We don't know where he's going to go. Kyler Murray's agent manifesto, by the way, that kicked off the month when we headed off to the combine in Indianapolis, where he's just like sending out that treatise about Kyler wants his money.
Unreal.
Is Jimmy G going to stay in San Francisco now? The whole Jimmy G saga. Lamar is biding his time on his contract.
Yeah, what is that all about?
All right, like the Ravens are saying, hey, do you want to talk, 9 figures or what?
He's like, nah, I'm all right.
Mitchell Trubisky wound up in Pittsburgh. Kirk Cousins got an extension. And when Matt Ryan goes to Indianapolis, Marcus Mariota gets reunited with his old OC from Tennessee, now the HC in Atlanta, Arthur Smith. Jameis Winston stays in New Orleans because Deshaun doesn't go there. Khalil Mack got traded to the Chargers, by the way, and J.C. Jackson hit it big and went to the Chargers from New England. Allen Robinson signed with the Rams. Amari Cooper got traded to Cleveland. Randy Gregory said, I'm going back to Dallas, and instead he went to Denver. He flip-flopped. Von Miller picks the Bills for $120 million. Bruce Arians, by the way, retired to wrap up the month. The scouting combine. He just put up the scouting combine.
Just the whole combine.
The scouting combine.
The whole thing.
The Lions get picked for Hard Knocks. The NFL, at the same time, modifies their rules for overtime for the playoffs. Buffalo decides to build a new stadium. Oh, by the way, when Aaron Rodgers said he was staying, and then Russell Wilson got traded, on that day, the top story across the entire NFL landscape is Calvin Ridley got suspended a year for gambling.
I totally forgot about that.
The Raiders paid Max Crosby and then added Chandler Jones. By the way, a 100-sack guy. 2 100-sack guys in Von Miller and Chandler Jones wind up on new teams. And then the defending AFC champions bolster the one big glaring weakness that they almost won the Super Bowl in spite of, offensive line help. Lyle Collins and Kappa and more. So we get it.
Good job, Rich.
I don't know if we've left anything on the table. We probably have. Craziest March ever in the NFL. Putting it all out there for you.
Wow. I mean, can we say March is the craziest month ever, period? Not just
March
in the NFL,
Madness,
or
right?
just
in
the history of months.
Well, you could talk about that, too. Like, when did UNC beat Duke? Was that at the end of February? Did that actually happen in March?
That was in March.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah.
I want to double check that, but
that was in March. We got now Tiger maybe coming back. We got MLB ending the 100-day lockout.
Right.
The Olympics happened. When did that end? That ended in February?
Yeah, it did. It did.
Man.
And then you had what happened on Sunday.
I don't think, I mean, we probably you may be fans sitting there thinking you left this out, left that out. But when Russell Wilson gets traded and Bobby Wagner gets cut on the same day for a dynamic franchise like the Seattle Seahawks, that's number 5 on the headline list, shows you. Because that's number 1 in any other year. Number 1.
Also, maybe number 1 any other year, just overtime getting changed.
That's true. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.